Okay, so today we are diving into a topic that seems like it's straight out of science fiction, but it's becoming more real every day.
Yeah, it feels like it's moving at the speed of light.
It really does. We're talking, of course, about artificial intelligence, or AI for short, and we're taking a good hard look at this new UN report governing AI for humanity.
This isn't just some dry policy report. This is a serious call to action, folks.
Right.
We need to get a grip on AI before it's too late.
Exactly. It's not about hitting the panic button, but it's definitely time to, maybe check the batteries on the smoke detector, make sure we're prepared.
Totally. And the report doesn't sugarcoat anything. It lays out both the amazing opportunities and the very real risks.
It does. And what struck me is how AI is no longer a niche thing. It's not just for tech insiders. This is affecting every single aspect of our lives. I mean, look at what AlphaFold did with protein folding. Groundbreaking.
Game changer.
Total game changer, right. And that's just a glimpse into the potential of AI.
Just the tip of the iceberg, really.
Right. And that's what's fascinating about this report. It really digs into the potential economic impact of AI.
And it's huge, like potentially massive. We're talking about a complete reshaping of the global economy.
Right out of the history books, like the Industrial Revolution, but on fast forward.
Sure. Exactly.
Yeah.
The report suggests AI could lead to a significant increase in global GDP. It's going to touch every industry imaginable.
It's mind-boggling when you think about it. We could be on the verge of, designing completely new materials, solving the energy crisis, even revolutionizing healthcare.
The possibilities are kind of endless at this point.
It's exciting and a little bit, unnerving at the same time, right?
Definitely. And that's the thing, right? This UN report doesn't just stop at the sunshine and roses.
Yeah.
It lays out the potential downsides as well, which they call vulnerabilities.
Vulnerabilities, yeah. And I think that's an important distinction because it's not about being afraid of AI. It's about understanding where things could go wrong.
Absolutely. We need to be prepared for the bumps in the road.
For sure. So let's talk about those vulnerabilities. One of the biggest ones the report highlights is the economic impact. AI could lead to job displacement, especially in developing countries.
And we could see even greater economic inequality as power gets concentrated in the hands of a few tech giants. That's a real worry.
Absolutely. And then there are the environmental concerns.
Yeah, that's a big one. We're already struggling to deal with climate change. AI could make that problem even worse.
Especially with all the energy it takes to run those massive data centers.
And then you have to factor in the environmental cost of mining for rare earth minerals. Those are essential for AI tech.
It's a complicated picture. We're talking potential benefits, but also potential risks. It's like walking a tightrope, really. And it's not just about the economic and environmental impacts, right? This report also dives into some potential societal risks that come with AI that's, not properly managed.
Yeah, and this is where things get really interesting, I think. We've all heard about deepfakes by now, those fake videos that look incredibly real.
Oh, yeah, those are getting scarily good.
Right. And the report basically says buckle up, because deepfakes are just the beginning. We're talking about a potential future where it becomes harder and harder to tell what's real and what's been cooked up by AI.
And that's terrifying when you think about the implications for, journalism, democracy, just basic trust in, everything.
Exactly. And it gets even wilder. The report actually highlights a study that found that a full 75% of AI experts are seriously concerned about AI being used in armed conflict.
Wow. 75%. That's a huge number. That's like a 5-alarm fire for humanity right there.
No kidding. It really underscores why we need global cooperation on this, like yesterday. We have to establish some ethical boundaries for AI development before things spiral out of control. It's like, imagine we've discovered this incredibly powerful new energy source.
AI being the energy source.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It has the potential to do amazing things, but it could also burn down the whole planet if we're not careful. We need to figure out how to use it for good without blowing ourselves up in the process.
So it's like we're all standing around this campfire, right? And we're all huddled close, trying to stay warm, but we know that the fire can get out of control really easily.
100%. And that's why this UN report is so important. It's basically saying, hey, we need a global plan to manage this thing. It's not about stopping progress. It's about making sure AI benefits everyone, not just a select few.
Right. It's about making sure the benefits are shared and the risks are minimized as much as humanly possible. But here's what I don't get. The report says that a shocking 118 countries aren't even part of any major AI governance initiatives right now.
Yeah, that's a crazy statistic.
It really is. 118 countries, that's...
Why is it so difficult to get everyone on the same page with this?
Well, The report actually identifies three main gaps that are holding us back. They call them representation, coordination, and implementation. And I think the baking a cake analogy works well here.
Okay, I love a good analogy. Lay it on me.
So if we want to bake a cake, we need the right ingredients, right? We need a clear recipe, and then we need someone to actually do the baking, to put it all together.
Okay, I'm following you so far.
So the representation gap is like not having all the right ingredients. The report points out that right now it's mostly a handful of powerful countries and big tech companies that are dominating the AI conversation.
So it's kind of like trying to bake a cake, but only using like sugar and eggs. You're missing some key components. Exactly. You're missing the flour, the butter, the flavor,
Yeah.
And in this case, we're missing the voices and perspectives of a lot of countries, especially in the global south. It's like trying to design a global transportation system, but only asking people in one city for their opinion.
It's just not going to work for everyone.
Exactly. And then we have the coordination gap, which is like having all the ingredients, but no clear recipe. We've got all these different countries and organizations working on AI governance, but they're all doing their own thing. It's like everyone's speaking a different language.
And that just leads to confusion, right? Conflicting approaches. And ultimately, it slows down progress towards actually governing AI effectively.
Yep. And then even if we manage to get everyone on the same page, even if we have all the right ingredients and a clear recipe, there's still the implementation gap,
Which is
actually baking the cake. Countries and companies can make all the promises they want about ethical AI, but without ways to hold them accountable, without enough resources, and without actually enforcing the rules, those promises are meaningless. It's like having a speed limit on a highway but no speed traps. People might behave for a little while, but sooner or later
someone's going to put the pedal to the metal. And with AI, the stakes are way higher than just getting a speeding ticket.
Exactly. So the report's message is loud and clear. We can't just talk about AI governance anymore. We have to actually do it. And that means tackling these three gaps head on: representation, coordination, and implementation.
So we've talked about the gaps, the what's missing part, but what about solutions? What does the report say we should actually do about all of this?
Well, the good news is the UN report doesn't just throw up its hands and say we're doomed. It actually lays out a very specific roadmap for action with 7 key recommendations.
7. Okay, so it's not like a million-step program. 7 feels doable.
Right. Like we can at least wrap our heads around 7. So the first one is interesting. They call for an international scientific panel on AI. Think of it like a global team of total AI brainiacs who can offer neutral, evidence-based advice on AI and its potential impacts.
So like a global AI brain trust, advising policymakers to make sure they're making smart decisions.
Exactly. A panel of experts who are keeping up with all the latest developments and can provide guidance that's free from political or corporate influence. Then they also call for something called an inclusive policy forum on AI. And if you remember that coordination gap we talked about?
Where everyone's doing their own thing, yeah.
Exactly. This forum would be a space for global leaders to actually get together and hash out the really tough questions about how to govern AI.
So kind of like a global town hall meeting dedicated to AI, where everyone can share their perspectives and hopefully find some common ground.
Precisely. Because the challenges of AI are global, right? No one country can solve this alone. And then to make sure that everyone's on the same page, literally speaking the same language when it comes to AI, they propose something called an AI standards exchange.
And this would be about
establishing common definitions. Right now, we're all using terms like fairness and transparency, but those can mean different things to different people.
Which isn't very helpful when you're trying to create global standards. It's like, we're all talking about apples, but some of us are thinking Granny Smiths and others are thinking Honey Crisps.
Yeah, it gets messy. So the AI standards exchange would be about getting everyone on the same page with terminology, measurement tools, even safety protocols.
Makes sense. Now, the report also talks about the importance of global equity when it comes to AI. They propose a capacity development network.
Oh, that's huge. So much of the conversation around AI is dominated by, wealthy nations and big tech companies.
We've got to make sure that everyone benefits from this technology, not just those who can afford it.
Right. And that's where the capacity development network comes in. It would provide support to developing countries, helping them build the skills and resources they need to not just use AI, but to actually shape its development. And then, speaking of resources...
money makes the world go round, right?
Always. So the report suggests creating a global fund for AI, basically a big pot of money, specifically earmarked to help developing countries develop and use AI responsibly.
It's about investing in our collective future, making sure everyone has a seat at the table.
Exactly. And then, because data is the lifeblood of AI.
AI runs on data like a car runs on gas.
Perfect analogy.
Yeah.
The report says we need a global AI data framework. This will set clear rules for how AI data is collected, shared, and used, because right now access to data is really uneven.
It's like the Wild West out there. It feels like anything goes.
Right. And that's a recipe for disaster, because if AI is trained on biased or incomplete data, it's going to perpetuate those biases and inequalities.
So the data framework would be about leveling the playing field, making sure everyone has fair and ethical access to the data that fuels AI.
Exactly. And finally, to bring it all home, the report suggests setting up an AI office within the UN Secretariat. Not to create some all-powerful AI agency, but to make sure all the existing UN work on AI is coordinated and effective.
Because the UN already does a lot of work on these issues, right? But it's kind of scattered across different agencies and departments.
Right, so this office would be about connecting the dots, making sure everyone's working together.
So if we had to sum it all up, it sounds like the message of this report is we're at a crossroads. We have this incredibly powerful technology, and we need to decide collectively how we're going to use it.
100%. And the decisions we make today are going to have huge implications for the future, not just for us, but for generations to come.
It's both exciting and, a little terrifying at the same time. We have this opportunity to use AI to solve some of the world's biggest challenges, but only if we do it right. And that's going to take a global effort, a real commitment to collaboration and cooperation. So let's get to work.